So taking the targets a little bit further out, one of the things I did notice as the day went on, as I got through about 400 plus rounds, I started noticing that as I pushed the targets further out, my groupings were getting a little bit wider. But again, I attribute that to not really being very well versed in the red dot world, not to mention the circle dot, which is a pretty large circle dot on this, this red dot that I have. It does not really, I think, loan itself out to very good long distance shooting, because it does take basically the entire view of the optic and makes it a huge giant circle dot. Now again, could be me, probably is, but at the same time, you know, my groupings were getting tighter and tighter as I was working this gun. And even as I bring this target back, there are some flyers. Again, that is going to be absolute when it comes to moving that gun. You know, again, my hands shake, so as a result, there's definitely going to be some times where my targeting is not going to be super accurate. And again, not an excuse, it's just reality. However, you'll notice that those 3 flyers that were in the top right were definitely there, but at the same time, we're still in the center mass. So it is absolutely doable. Now, in regards to shooting the gun further, you know, after I put another few rounds through this, as the target's going to come back here in a few seconds, I started feeling a little bit more comfortable with the trigger, also a little bit more comfortable with the ease on how this gun was actually performing, especially with this whole red dot thing, you know. And again, some people may say that, you know, there's no distinct advantage or disadvantage. I may have been in that camp at one time myself. However, having the experience that I had, and as this target comes back, just hitting those center mass targets right in that red area was a very rewarding experience for me as a shooter. Again, I probably have poo-pooed the idea of getting red dots in the past, saying they're not necessarily what I would want. But again, as I definitely put some more time into this gun, and as I saw this gun grouping just so tightly, I was very, very happy with it. Now again, this target that you're going to see here as it gets pulled back, the groupings again are getting much, much better. The shooting experience overall was a fairly positive one. Again, as I've said in the past, you know, sometimes you get guns that, you know, you try to practice with a little bit more. The trigger is a little bit of a rolling trigger, and I've described it like that in my first video about this gun, because there really is no definitive hard wall when it comes to that trigger pull. And it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something that you've got to get used to, because the trigger is smooth. It's a very, very smooth take up. Again, there's not that discernible, really hard wall that the trigger gets to, but it just breaks nice and smoothly. And the reset is maybe a little bit longer than some other guns, but the reset is a very good reset as well. And again, it makes the gun ultimately very, very controllable. You know, and again, the target that you see here, the hole is getting much bigger in the middle. And again, I'm starting to move up on the target, and I'll explain that in a minute here when you see the end of this portion of this video. As a matter of fact, this is going to end my narration portion, and then you'll be able to hear my words that are just coming straight from me the day I shot it. But overall, super happy with this gun, very excited about the Masada. I highly recommend it to all of you.
I'm actually seriously just lifting the dot in the circle slightly up, and as you can see, it's following along that path. It's absolutely perfect. Very good. As you guys can see, that's what I just shot. Awesome.
All right, guys, welcome back to the table, 1776 or bust. And on the table, you see the Wonder gem that I own right now, and this is the IWI Masada. So for those out there who are really kind of considering whether or not they should go with something like this, because again, the market is 100% flooded with striker-fired handguns. Now, obviously, as a lot of changes are going to this optic-ready mode, whether it's the Glocks and the FNs and now this one and the PPQs out there and all these other guns that are now coming out with the red dot. I really think that this gun kind of stands out in regards to a couple of reasons. First off, the price is in my opinion, nothing to kind of frown at. I mean, $400 out the door for this gun in my local gun shop. I couldn't complain about that. It's just a really nice price for a very nicely built handgun. Also, in regards to the company that makes this firearm, IWI has a very good track record. They make police and military firearms for Israel. And in regards to that, you know that they're going to have some quality behind this. Now, the system of red dot that they're using here, or the optics ready, it's kind of unique. And the reason why I say that is because they don't come with aluminum plates or metal, any kind of metal plate. These are all polymer plates. So again, over time, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to fail or not. But, 450, 500 rounds through this gun, absolutely nothing went wrong with it. Every single round that it went through, absolutely no problems. The only thing I really noticed was that I kept riding the slide release a little bit. So as a result, the slide wouldn't always lock back. So I just had to quickly just adjust my thumb a little bit and retract it so that I wasn't riding on it or holding down on it. Another interesting feature that I noticed when I was shooting the gun is the way they put the actual takedown lever. Even though you can see it's extended slightly outside of the actual grip, one of the things that I did like is you can actually rest your thumb very comfortably on that and use that as a point of leverage to really control your firearm. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. Now, whether or not they intended to do that, I can't tell you, but I can definitely say that I use that as a leverage point for my support hand thumb, which again, I think was a really, really cool idea. In regards to the sights, again, the sights are fairly nice. It would be nice to see more manufacturers come out with sights that go with more, newer firearms that are coming out. Again, that takes some time, and I know that the companies have to work together with the firearms manufacturer to get those sights out there. So right now, there's not a lot to really be offered in regards to co-witnessing. If you really need those, again, there's a debate as to whether or not you really need co-witnessing sights or not. Personally, I would prefer to have a better ability to see that front sight. However, I did notice that because this Swamp Fox Kingslayer lies a little bit lower into the frame, you can make out a little bit of that dot if you had to. But I would say that overall, it's not necessarily needed at this point because, again, you have a very bright dot on here, even though this is a circle dot in green. It still stood out very nicely, and I have to say that my groupings were actually pretty good, a lot better than I thought they'd be. One of the things that I also liked about this gun are the ergonomics. You can see that you have kind of a nice little hump back here. Now, this is the medium back strap. I did not use the large. Next time I take this gun out, I am going to put the large on there to see what the difference is, aside from pushing my hand a little further back. But I felt like this was very comfortable for me. I didn't have really any issues with controlling the firearm or anything like that. You get a very nice purchase and a very, very nice ability to support your other hand. One of the things I also like is this lip right here. You actually can roll your finger in there, your pinky, and really, again, use that for a leverage point as well. Again, the back is removable, so basically you pull the pin out, and then this whole piece comes out, and then a new piece pops in. The magazines are, again, very nice, good quality stuff. And what I did notice about it when I was shooting this gun was one of the things I was having issues with was just trying to get this magazine to release. And it's not because there's no spring to the button or anything like that. It's just simply where the button is located. It may not look very recessed in as you look at it here, but I would say that it's a little bit further in pushed in a little bit further than other mag releases on other firearms. So as a result, it can be a little bit awkward to try to get that with your thumb. Now, I have ridiculously long thumbs, and I was even having trouble reaching that. But again, a slight change of your grip, and the magazine pops out. So other than that, I mean, it's not really anything to necessarily complain about. Now, overall, in regards to the trigger, what did I find out about the trigger when I was shooting this gun? Well, first off, one of the things that I do like is that the trigger does have that trigger safety, and you're going to notice that it does recess basically all the way in. And I like that. I think when triggers have that ability to recess the trigger safety all the way in, it just makes it for an overall more comfortable shooting experience. Now, again, you may disagree with that, but that's my opinion, and that's what I've found on other handguns that I have shot over time. But the trigger overall, the trigger pull is kind of an interesting one. When I first started shooting the gun, there's, I think, a slight learning curve with the trigger. Not a tremendous one, but a slight one. And the reason why I say that again is because as you pull that trigger in, there's not that distinct wall. When you push a Glock trigger in, you reach that wall because it's a very distinct stop, if that makes sense. And with this trigger, it almost like you feel the tension building on the trigger, but there's really no basic wall. It just rolls right through it. And, it kind of takes some time to get used to that. But at the same time, when you get used to it, this trigger is a very quick trigger. It's a very fast trigger, and it makes shooting this gun very fun, and it makes the gun very accurate. In regards to overall recoil impulse, I mean, it is what it is. It's a polymer gun. And you're going to have some, even though it's a 9mm, it's not going to be overwhelming. But one thing I did notice, which I thought was kind of interesting, was it did feel like it had just a little bit more recoil than other full-size guns that I've owned or have shot. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, is it anything uncontrollable? Absolutely not. It's just something that I noticed as a personal observation. Again, the designing cues of everything are really nice. You can see that nothing really had gone away in the finishing. The optics stayed in its place. I did retighten the screws. My last video, somebody did tell me that this screw was coming out, and I said, no, it's not. And then I looked at it again, and sure enough, it was. But again, 450 rounds, 500 rounds down the range, just retightening them about every 25 rounds. I wasn't really going in there permanently attaching this because, again, I want to test this out with other optics, like, for example, my Venom. Also, I have the 507C and the 508T, and I want to test this gun with just about all of them, and I want to see how it fares with that as well. I mean, overall, what are my impressions of the IWI Masada after owning it, after shooting it, and just after being able to kind of play around with it a little bit? I have to say that this gun is a very, very well-built handgun. In my opinion, there is absolutely no reason somebody should go out there and spend, $700, $800 on a polymer striker-fired handgun. You just don't need to do that. Now, need versus want are obviously two different things. For me, I look at the fact that when we have guns out there that are in this kind of configuration, built very well, don't really have any negative downsides to them, and they're about $425. Sometimes you can find them lower. I know there was, for example, on Gunbroker, there was a bidding war on a Masada, and I think the final bid was like $385 or $390. And when you think about that price, you look at this handgun, you say, holy cow, for that price, why would you pass this gun up? Now, it may not have all the glitz and glamour of some of the other guns out there on the market, but at the same time, there is absolutely no reason why manufacturers should be making polymer striker-fired handguns that are, in my opinion, $550 and up, because there are so many good options out there that are $500 and less, especially when you're coming up with an optics-ready version like this, especially when it's built fairly well. There really doesn't seem to be any flaws of this handgun. There are some little, designing cute things that people would probably want to change, but overall, the gun is structurally flawless, and in performance-wise, it's mechanically flawless. So overall, my impressions are very positive of this handgun. If you've been on the fence about it, I really think you need to consider taking a look at this and maybe getting an opportunity. If your friend has one, or if a local store has one, you can maybe test shoot it or whatever it is. I would definitely take advantage of it. I think you're going to be very happy with the gun. I think it really is a cross between an M&P 2.0, which, interestingly enough, this gun reminds me a lot of that gun. But I also think it kind of has the shape almost of especially in the grip area, I would say very close to maybe a P10C. So it's kind of like a hybrid of both those guns. And the way it fits in the hand, the way it shoots, the way it performed, and just all the added options to it, I think it's a no-brainer. So again, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this Masada. I mean, if you've shot it, have you had the same experience shooting it, in regards to just taking it out with the red dot the first time and just feeling really confident with it? Or what was your impression? I mean, what did you think about this gun when you took it out? But overall, I'm very satisfied with this gun. Again, I'm going to be doing a review on the Swamp Fox pretty soon because, again, this was actually a pretty good optic for this handgun. And overall, I think it's a winner. I think you guys need to go out and get one if you're on the fence about it, or if you're looking for an all-day, everyday type of handgun, maybe your first one. This would actually, I think, fit that bill. It's a little bit bigger than most guns for carry, but at the same time, you can definitely conceal this if you dress around it. And then more importantly, it's affordable, it's attractive, and it works. So again, leave those comments down below. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.